Hello, everyone, and welcome to All Things Divine, where you grow well divinely. How does that sound? I used to say in 2022, welcome to All Things Divine with yours truly, me. But I figured, you know what? Let's just change it up because we've got some exciting things going on for 2023. So, welcome to All Things Divine, where you grow well divinely. I'm liking that. I think I'm gonna stick with that. Happy 2023. Today is January the 2nd of 2023. So by the time everyone hears this, it will be January 3rd, but I just wanted to jump in. Now, I do want to talk about a couple of things. Really, the first thing, and I don't even think I have a few things to talk about, but one of the main things that I want to talk about is we are still going to get into the root chakra. There's a lot of things that I want to discuss with everyone. So once we get out those 3 episodes, then we will go back with the 4th episode being about the root chakra. That's the plan right now. It could change. Who knows? But I appreciate you for sticking with me. Now, I just want to be real. Like in January, my friend, she is my bestest friend in the whole wide world. That's what I always tell her. You're my bestest friend. We have a theme for January where her theme was healthy habits. And I mean, that's kind of mine too, because I'm just getting back into the swing of things. Let me tell you, Thanksgiving, I went to go visit family and I was gone for like 9 or 10 days. I won't even talk about all of the stuff that happened on the way back. You know what? Let me bring that up. I got COVID after I dodged it for 2 years. I actually got COVID this past November, and thankfully, thankfully, I am okay. And after the 3rd day, I was already, on an uphill, I don't know if uphill's the right word to use, because uphill sounds like it's a battle, but I was on a downward slope. That is what I'm trying to say. I was on the downward slope. I was on the other side of things, and I did heal pretty quick. And so I'm very thankful for that. But I have been living foul since Thanksgiving, and I was eating and drinking and just having the time of my life. And I was just like, I don't feel good. Like, my body cannot take all of this processed food. Like, I may be a little plus size, but your girl's been having healthy habits for the past 2.5 to 3 years. So when you start living foul, like I was living, and just having pizza and wine and whiskey and just let the drinks flow and let the food flow, I mean, it was so bad. The last week of December, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like this, I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to regress. Like, I have lived my life of crime with eating and drinking, and I am ready to go back to healthy habits. So, that is the theme for January for my bestest friend and myself, healthy habits. But I thought, you know what? It's not just healthy habits with eating and working out. Let's get real. Let's get really real. Let's have healthy habits in the mind. Let's talk about some things. Let's talk about topics that are uncomfortable for me and for other people to discuss. And so that is what we're going to talk about today. For my number 1 topic, it's co-parenting. Co-parenting is such a tough topic to discuss. There's so many emotions involved with co-parenting, and I lift my hat up to, and I'll take a curtsy to all of the people who co-parent so beautifully. I think it's amazing. And I am just so thankful to be able to see that, experience that. And I'm just really happy for all of the kids involved. And especially when you're blending families, like that's a whole other topic. But when you're blending families and there's a mixture of kids and ex-spouses and all of that, it's so important to set a healthy boundary of co-parenting. And so kudos to everyone who does such a beautiful job with that. I think that you're doing amazing, sweetie, and you should just for sure keep up the amazing work. With that being said, there is another side to co-parenting that is not so fun. And Kim Kardashian, she did an interview with Angie Martinez for her podcast In Real Life. I love that podcast. I think it's so amazing because it just gets to the core of stuff, and she asks all the uncomfortable questions, but it's such a breath of fresh air because so many people, they feel like, in their situations, well, I'm a celebrity, like I can't, let someone know that I'm struggling with this. And then when you sit down with her, I'm like, is she the Barbara Walters now? Because she will just have the most amazing, powerful conversations. And I just recently watched the podcast that she had with Kim Kardashian, where they talked about a lot of things. But one of the things that really hit home for me and that made me emotional just listening to Kim was when she talked about co-parenting. And I thought that that was such an amazing topic to start off with because it's the beginning of the year. It's, there's New Year's resolutions. There's all these things going on that people, they set intentions. And I even do, end of year intention ceremony. And I thought this is so perfect to talk about because that can be your intention. If you are in a situation where you have to co-parent, that can be your intention for 2023 to change the energy of what has been going on in your world and your struggle with co-parenting. So we are going to jump into that right after this break. Increase your productivity and happiness by 300%. The Law of Attraction Planner helps you become much more productive by teaching you how to focus only on your top priorities and delegating the rest. This helps you achieve more and create more free time and happiness for yourself. The perfect productivity and time management planner. This weekly planner includes to-do lists, feel-good list, and gratitude journal. The weekly, monthly feel-good list will help you not forget yourself and to put yourself first. Another thing about this amazing planner is that you will be amazed by the results if you follow the 8 steps in this planner. Find your life purpose and live your passion. With this planner, you not only stay up to date on all of the things that you have going on in your daily life, but you get to discover what you truly want in your life. Following your passion and your purpose will give you more joy than you have ever imagined. So you have got to check out the Life Planner. It is on freedommastery.com. And guess what? We are going to help you with this planner for 2023 with an extra 15% off. That is right, 15% off. But you have to click on the link that we provide so that you. So, as you know, on divineslide.com, we have journal entries, and each category of those journal entries, we internally call them chapters because they're chapters of our lives. So each blog post that we write, we call them a journal entry because in the chapter of relationships, we will journal about something dealing with relationships. And while I'm on that, if you go to the chapter of relationships, inside that chapter, you will see a section about parenting. And I had a talk today about this. I feel that I should completely make that its own chapter instead of have that as a subcategory inside of relationships. So please let me know what you think about that, because I feel there's so many dynamics to parenting that I want to discuss, and I feel that it's going to overtake that entire page. So let me know what you think in the comments. You can email us, you can DM us, anything. Just let me know what you think about me making that its own chapter. I'm really excited about the parenting family dynamic chapter because co-parenting is involved with that, blending families and just even starting new and with a new relationship where they have children and maybe you don't. That those are things that we are going to really get into for 2023. And I just can't wait to discuss those things because it does need to be talked about. We don't need to sugarcoat anything. I want to get to the real of those situations. So, with this episode with Kim Kardashian and Angie Martinez, Kim talked about how difficult it is to co-parent with her ex-husband. And she talked about how she had the best dad and that she wants to do everything that she can to protect her children for as long as she can so that they always see their parent in the best light. And when the time comes, she will have those tough conversations with them and answer questions with them. And one of the things that she said that really just struck a chord with me, she said that, sometimes on the way to school, they want to listen to their dad's music. So she'll, cut the music up and sing along with them, and they have the best morning. And then when they get out, she has a good cry sometimes, and maybe she'll, send a text and whatever she needs to do to release that. And she said, how hard it is. And I just thought, you're so right, Kim. And because there's another side to co-parenting that a lot of people do not like to talk about. Some people think that when you are no longer with someone, that there has to be like this hatred and it's like, oh, I don't want anything to do with this person. And the kid or kids are in the middle of all of that. They're in the middle of how you feel. So that's already starting off unfair. And that was a situation that I feel that she was trying to explain in the best way that she could without being as disrespectful to her ex-partner. But like she said, there's so many things that I could say. I could put the truth out there, but why would I do that? And why would I talk to my kids badly about their parent for what? Like, why would you do that to a child and just kind of already create a toxic energy for them? And she said, my kids will thank me. And I'm telling you, that part really got me because I have a situation like that to where, I'm not going to sit here and try to sound like Susie Baker and like I am just completely just innocent and everything, because I feel like with the dynamics that happened at first, I had never had something like that happen to me. So although I did expect it and I wasn't really surprised by the actions, I was still surprised by all of the negativity and the disrespect. Like, I didn't have anyone disrespect me other than this particular person. So I didn't know how to deal with that. And don't go to social media, because, and that's a whole other episode that we will be talking about next. There is but I'll touch on it a little bit here. There's a bit of a stereotype around people of color, I'll say women of color, that it didn't matter that I was telling the truth. I don't know if it was maybe the tone or the aggression, but I was just not believed. And of course I was believed by like family and friends, and because they know me. And even some people that I didn't really know, they knew of me or knew my family. So they knew, well, this is very out of character for her to act like this. Like, there's no way that she's just making this up. And so again, I'm just going to just touch on that a little bit. And in that, with maybe social media is not the place to try to speak your truth all the time, because you're going to have people there that are automatically going to just say, oh, well, she's lying. And in my case, I feel that the color of my skin played a huge part in that. So I'm excited to talk about this, but then I'm also nervous, because I feel that in a situation, no matter what I say, you can, I don't even know how to say this. You can already tell that I'm getting nervous, but no matter what I say, even though I am speaking the truth, like I just mentioned, it has a tendency sometimes to be spent another way. Like, oh, well, she's just still mad. She is just an angry Black woman. And that is so not true. Like, anyone around you will tell you how I just love life and I'm just so grateful and thankful. And that's not the case. So it's okay for someone to speak their truth. And when they do, if you don't want to hear it, then you can just, keep it moving. But I am going to continue on with this because of the podcast interview that I saw, and because of a situation that personally happened to me, because I want for everyone to grow well. And I hope that I help someone to change the energy with yourself and how you approach things. So I had a situation where a relationship ended. It ended horribly. And like I mentioned before, it's not the ending of that. It was all of the disrespect towards me and sometimes towards my son. And, I did not handle it well at first, but I did have a conversation with someone that is no longer with us, and he asked me to promise him that no matter what, that I would never badmouth the other parent to my son, because that was done to him. And he said that it was devastating, and it caused so much turmoil in his life. And he asked me not to repeat that pattern. And I just remember being so upset, because I knew I was going to do what he said. And at that time, I was not bad mouthing this other person, but this conversation was had because this particular person realized that things were getting really toxic, and he just wanted to put in his wisdom and his 2 cents. And I knew I was going to listen to him because he never asked me for anything. And I knew personally his story that happened to him. So I made the decision that, yes, I'm going to stand 10 toes down on, my promise. I promise that I will not do this. And I remember getting off the phone. I was so upset because I thought, well, I'm going to do this, but I'm being so disrespected. I had my feelings involved. And that, if we're talking about strategic plans, I did not have a strategic plan, but I can tell you that you need to get your feelings out of the way. And it should be about that child. And of course, I was thinking, just from hearing therapists and reading things, that, well, if I change my energy completely and I do a whole heart change and I make sure that I am a positive parent rising above negativity behind my closed doors, then eventually it'll change the energy and my co-parenting relationship with that person will exist and it'll be great, and this person will be a phenomenal parent. And it's not far-fetched to think that. I mean, we always talk about changing energy, but in this situation, that did not happen. Now, my energy with me and things around me changed, and I was living in gratitude, and I was so happy, and I was being blessed with all these things because I was truly working hard on my heart and truly working hard to protect this particular relationship with my child and this other person. And so my heart was in it, but my dynamic with that person never changed. It got colder and more callous and more disrespectful. And it was so hard to continue to protect this relationship, even if that meant that I sometimes would say, okay, you know what? You're just not going to be able to see him because all of these things are happening, on top of this disrespect. Like, things are personally happening that, we don't need to discuss. But that was even spent like, oh, well, she's just mad. She's just mad that I moved on. And I'm thinking, if you would just get out of that, because that could be so further from the truth. I don't even know how to get you out of that thinking to focus on this kid. And it just never changed. And I would test the waters. I would try to be nice and try to say something funny, or thinking like, okay, well, we're having a good back and forth. We're trying to situate whatever. And I would try, and it was just met with negativity and nastiness. And I will say, and I'm saying because I'm talking about my feelings, because I'm trying to explain that all of these dynamics were going on around me, and at the same time I was still trying to push through for my kid. And it was hard when you are being made fun of, and when you are being disrespected. Oh my gosh, there's this building in Dubai, and it's the tallest building in the world. That is the levels of disrespect that I experience on a weekly basis. And I was supposed to just suck that up? What? Well, what about me? And so that's where we make our first mistake, is when we think, well, what about me? Okay, well, you're being mean to me, so guess what? I'm going to say all these things to you, and the child is hearing that, and I didn't want that. And I thought, you know what? I know this situation is really toxic. My child is in therapy and was in therapy for about 4.5 to 5 years. And, but I have to make sure that my atmosphere and my energy is of positivity and love. And even though I had that skyscraper of disrespect, I completely understand what Kim is saying when she's like, sometimes you just play the part and then you go and you have a good cry. And I just remember crying in excruciating pain because I thought, why is this situation getting worse? And I can't even speak up and like say anything because it's being twisted and turned and manipulated, and I can't even say, like, ask, hey, why was this said? Because now I'm struggling with something that was done over the weekend. Now I'm struggling with it the next 2 weeks. And so it was just really difficult. And that is a side of co-parenting, when you are literally co-parenting with your damn self. And it's so, I don't want to say it's worth it to co-parent with yourself because it's not, but because I am on the other side, I can say to Kim Kardashian and to anyone else who is currently going through this and just really struggling, there is another side, and I've made it to the other side, and my son thanks me tremendously. And I'm so thankful that I kept due on my promise to that person. And I hope that they're proud of me. I know I'm proud of me. I know my son's proud of me. And even now, I still protect that relationship. And then I also protect the other dynamics because there's other kids involved that I know that my son deeply loves. And so I'm here to say that there is another side, and that I would highly suggest that if you're in a dark situation like that where you're trying to co-parent, to have a strong circle around you, to have therapy. I think that's an amazing tool, to have amazing friends and family around you to help you through this, because it is hard. And I just remember I would walk. I used to live in Texas, and the summers there, 100+ degrees, and I would be in such distress that it could be 109, and I would just start walking miles and miles because I just needed to de-stress. I needed some way to get this out. I was going through therapy, but I wasn't going to therapy every single day. That would have been great. But I had to find ways for me to cope with accepting that I am not liked by this particular person, that I'm probably even hated. And it's a sad thing because, for personal reasons, it's sad. And I feel sad for my son, but I know that, and I felt it with all my heart. In the end, it's going to be amazing for me. And my son is going to have the utmost respect for me. And he does. And I love him. And he's almost 20. Well, he'll be 20 this year. And he did. He just thanked me, and he thanks me, and he thanks me when I check him for, even now, if I feel like he's being a little disrespectful to the other person, I'm just like, well, no, that's not how we do things. That's not how we act. You need to clean that up and grow up. And he thanks me even for that. So whoever is going through this right now, there is another side, and you continue to put your boundaries up. And it's okay. Like I said, it's okay. You can try to test the waters. And when I was met with a lot of negativity, I actually had an open door to test the waters with someone else involved. And so I only communicate through that person. And I really don't have to, because like I said, my son, he will be 20. But there are certain things, because that's one thing about parenting that I'll say. I don't understand when parents say, well, they're 18, they're on their own. Because I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. No, that's a whole other level. That's a new level to parenting. When they're 18, you got to step it up, and you got to have that connection. And it's just a whole other level of parenting when they become adults. So I don't get that. And so there's things that, I strongly feel should be, I should be brought in on, like, hey, our son sent me a message, and are you familiar with this? Like, hey, what's going on? Because that should continue throughout life. You should always have that child or children's, or child, sorry, I didn't say that right. But you should always have their best interests at heart, even as they grow. And I want to thank all of the examples that I also saw for co-parenting when I was growing up, and even now. And I'm so thankful for seeing that side of co-parenting, and even for the co-parenting that I saw with like other families that was very negative. That was still a learning tool for me, because I knew that I did not want that behind my closed doors. I didn't want that nastiness. I'm not going to talk about your other parent. Instead, I remember one night laying in bed with my son, and he was supposed to go to school. School was the next day, but we talked till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I told him so many funny stories about this other person, and we were laughing and laughing. And I remember when he finally went to sleep, because he only had like 3 hours before he needed to get up to get ready for school. I remember I cried myself to sleep, because I thought, why am I being so respectful to someone who hates the ground that I walk on, who hates me to the core of his heart, who wishes ill will? And I don't understand this God. And I can't even imagine what Jesus went through, because I can't even handle this. And it was so bad and so toxic for me that it got to a point, because I didn't understand it. And I couldn't control it, and I couldn't stop it, no matter how many conversations I tried to have, no matter how hard I tried to co-parent. I couldn't stop the train. And it got to a point to where I contemplated another alternative for myself, which would have took me out, which was very unhealthy. So there's levels to co-parenting and dynamics that can get so toxic that you just cannot hold on. But I am telling you to hold on, because it is another side, and your life does not depend on what someone else thinks about you and how someone else treats you. You can really only control your environment, and sometimes we can't. But for the most part, we can control our energy and our environment. And if you love your child deeply, and you know that you loved that other person, that is the only energy that I would hold on to. When there was, even if anyone's in a court battle, I made a choice to never look at what those papers said. about me. You have papers and you have your findings and all of these things when you're going through like a court battle. I asked my attorney to never send me copies of that because I knew that, well, all these other dynamics are going on. So if I see or read something that was said about me on paper from these particular people, that is going to mess up everything that I have said and like nice about this person. That's going to mess up everything that I've worked hard on. I know myself and I know that I can't see that. So set healthy boundaries for yourself on what you will and won't allow. My people around me, I want to thank you so much because they could have been very ratchet with this person and people around them, but they never did because they know how I operate. They love my son. And so when they see that person, even when they wanted to just punch this person in the face, they respected this person and spoke to this person out of the love for my son. And I'm just so thankful for that. And because I was trying to change my heart and trying to show true love and unconditional love to my son, like I said earlier, my environment changed and I was blessed with so much. So I am a true believer on changing your heart, changing your energy, changing your mind to change your life. And because it changes so much for you. And that is the focus, is you and yours, not that other person. So unfortunately, sometimes co-parenting does not work. And I hope that Kim Kardashian and other people can get to a healthy dynamic with co-parenting. But it all starts with you and it all starts in your home. And you may have a scenario much different than mine where you're changing, you're working hard. That other parent sees that you are, they meet you halfway, and y'all just have the best co-parenting relationship. And then you may have my same exact scenario where it's just not going to happen. And that's okay. Like I said, I'm sad for my son, but I'm going to continue doing my part and you always continue doing your part. And when they get old enough, because we finally did, when he was 18 and 19, he's asked me some things that, we had to have hard conversations, and we finally did. And it felt so freeing for me because I've held this in the entire time and it's been so hard, but I just felt so free. And even when we had those hard conversations, because I have showed love and compassion for that other parent, it didn't change the way that he talks to that other parent and interacts with that other parent. And that is worth it. And that's a silent thank you that will last the rest of your life. You can do it. We should have a whole conversation about this. So write comments, help other people. Co-parenting is hard, but it's in you. And it starts with you. It starts in your home. Set healthy boundaries. Have a great team around you. Go to therapy if you need to. Have your private time where you cry and you scream. And make the choice to rise above any negativity. Because let's be real, at one point in life, you absolutely loved that other person. And that energy is what I would hold on to. And that's how I would talk to my child, is to grab a hold to that past energy of one time loving that person. Do you know how hard that is? Whenever you're being disrespected, and especially if you have people being thrown up in your face, that is hard. And I also, because, and some people may not like this, because that was such a toxic environment, and I never mixed in like other partners in the dynamic with my son because that was fractured. I'm not saying that I did not and don't have relationships, but at that time, I never brought anyone that was male around my son. I think I did when he got older, but he was older. But in that particular time where it was real dark, that did not happen. That was the way that I did things because I felt like that could confuse a child. And then you start looking at this other person like, oh, okay, well, you'll take this place. No, let me try to control this atmosphere, and then I'll bring someone in when I know that I'm in the right mind and have the right heart space and mental stuff, mental, I guess, capacity is what I'm trying to say, to be able to bring in this other dynamic and then also be dealing with this other one on the side. So I'm not saying you have to do that, but you can if you want to. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. But remember, it starts with you. You can do it. I want you to grow well divinely, and I will see you on the next episode of All Things Divine.